In this video, I'm making a barn door with floating panels. Ever since I began woodworking, I've been obsessed with making doors. And because I'm an idiot, I decided to take on a client with a tight deadline of only 6 days. No way. And to make matters worse, I have to install this door by myself. I've done some pretty crazy projects in the past with tight deadlines, so I think I'm up for the challenge.
That's a joke, isn't it?
Don't worry, I can do it. The only problem is I don't have the lumber or the hardware yet. And we're gonna have to build this door from scratch. This will be almost impossible. I'm gonna need $600 in wood, handles, sliding door hardware. So we need to get moving, fast. Before we start, let's go to the hardware store and grab a few supplies. We're gonna need some stuff like glue and some lumber, but we have a problem. They're all out of their 2-inch thick cedar stock. But they do have their 1-inch thick stock, and we can get busy with that. After cutting 24 pieces 2 feet long, I decided to put a tongue and groove on each side of it. So they'll go together like this, and these will be the floating panel. This will help with seasonal wood movement. Lumber truck is on its way, should be here shortly, and we can get busy on the frame. Yes! Now that the lumber arrived, let's lay out the stiles and the rails, and let's get an idea for how this door is gonna get built. I'm running behind schedule and I'm trying to lay out these stiles and the rails. The client just called and she has a change order. Client wants to change all of the floating panels to a chevron panel. Ugh. With no time to spare, I had to run over to the joiner and the planer and start milling my lumber. After doing that, I ripped it on the table saw and got everything cut to size. I'm starting to feel like I'm not gonna pull this off. I labeled my stiles and my rails to make sure I wouldn't make any mess ups. I cut my tongues and my grooves in all the stiles and rails and went for doing a dry fit test. They look perfect and everything is starting to come together, and I did have a lucky break. My floating panels are gonna make it. I had cut them at 2 feet long, and if I change the degree from the miter 45 to a 22.5, they will make it. Yes! But this project is really stressful and I'm struggling. And although I have a history of building things under pressure, I totally underestimated the time that this project would take. And now I have another issue. Now it appears that my hardware for the sliding door is going to be late. But who knows? Maybe it'll come in on time. Regardless of that, we have to keep charging forward. So I'm installing these floating panels and they're going in pretty good. I had a couple of them that were tight, but in the end, it came together really well. This thing won't bind or cup or ever warp because they're floating. Seasonal wood movement hates things holding it down like glue and nails and screws. And normally something like this, I would cut this chevron pattern out, I would glue it and nail it down to a piece of plywood and call it a day. But you end up getting warpage and you don't want that. I did get a few checks and cracks, but I quickly stabilized it with some CA glue and tinted it brown, as that will be the color I'm gonna stain it. Oh, and before I forget, yes, I made DIY plans. Speaking of plans, I'll have a link down below with a cut list and everything you need to get started.
It's like somebody got a name, Woodshop.
And we got lucky. The next day, the hardware arrived, so I got busy drilling the holes. But first, I tried to freehand the holes, and that was a mistake. I was way too confident. So I pulled out my trusty jig, and it really helped me out. Everything is looking so good. I just hope the finish can be fully cured before 1 o'clock tomorrow, because that is the D-Day. Dun dun dun. All right, this is the moment of truth. It's time to spray the finish. We gotta get this on, probably 2 coats, and it's gotta cure out. We're running short on time. Although the door was almost fully cured, I could still put a slight fingerprint at the bottom, but the house is 30 minutes away and I needed just about that time for it to cure out. So while I installed the ledger board on the wall and installed the sliding track, the door was finally ready and I was able to hang it. Whew, that was so close. I've never had a project come that close. Holy cow. I did disclose to the client, please don't touch the door, just let it sit there for the rest of the night. But it looks beautiful and she loved it. The floating panels were difficult, but in the end it came out great and it looks awesome. I also made the client a few other things, this live edge bath caddy, and I installed this reclaimed mantle. I did this a year earlier though, but I thought, hey, why not show you now? See you next time.